Welcome back to the vlog, ladies and gentlemen. It is your boy J Rock, and you are on the walk with J Rock. All right. Now, listen, it's a very important topic I'm going to talk to you about today. So, listen, I know I cuss up a storm in my videos. Don't get me twisted, but for real, there's going to be no cussing in this video at all. This is really serious. This is really serious stuff. All right. And I don't really talk about this at all, but it needs to be said, right? It needs to be said because this country of ours is crazy. It's crazy. So we're going to address the homeless agenda in the United States, right? There's probably homeless all over the world, but we're just gonna stay in the United States. All right. So my thing is, and I've talked to homeless people. Years and years ago, I was at a shelter, right? And I've talked to people, you know, that run shelters, you know, where I used to live and everything else like that. Talked to homeless where I used to live. And here's my thing: we need faith based outreach programs that are not run by the government, that are non-profit, right? Non-profitable homeless shelters that are faith-based. Now you could say that, well, these shelters nowadays, or these shelters out there, they make you go to church and all that stuff. And that's not what I'm talking about. Because my thing about it is, yeah, they make you go to church or whatever the case may be, but they're funded by the government, right? So they're band-aid stations for the problem, which means when these homeless shelters are funded by the government, they only give you 30 days to stay there, and then you're back on the streets, right? Sorry for the dogs barking, but anyway, they only give you 30 days to be there, right? That's not enough time, people. That's not enough time to get. Listen, it could take 30 days to get a job, right? You never know. It could take longer than that. That is not enough time for somebody to go get a job, to save up money, to get an apartment or whatever, and get back on their feet. It's just not enough time. Now the idea of a shelter is great, right? The idea of a homeless shelter is great, right? But the idea of a shelter, though, was to get people off the streets, right? Give them shelter, and then give them a chance to get on their feet, right? That's the idea of a shelter. A homeless shelter. I'm saying that's why we need faith-based nonprofit organizations out there, like a place like Just for Jesus, right, in Pennsylvania, right? That is a faith-based ministry that is nonprofit. So that means it's nonprofit. So the government has no, control over the situation at all, right? It's run all by donations, but that means a person staying at a nonprofit shelter like Just for Jesus, right, is able to stay as long as they want. It's in my eyes, yes. You can stay as long as you want. You're supposed to stay there to get on your feet, and then go back out into to society, right? That's the whole game. That's the whole game plan. Is yes, the government, yes. And here's what I think. The government, yes, is at fault. The government should realize that it's going to take more than 30 days to, you know, get somebody on their feet again, right? That's why I'm saying we need these non-profit shelters out there that where the government doesn't control nothing and people can stay as long as they want, and when they get on their feet, then they can go back out in society. But while they're there, they get taught how to manage money, how to do things so they don't end back up in the situation that they're at again. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I've talked to a lot of homeless people, right? Even in shelters, out of shelters, that, yes, 9 times out of 10, they are addicted to advice, right? They are addicted to advice, hands down, right? And that's the government's fault because the reason I say that is because these people have been to rehabs. They've done all of this, and that's why a shelter that can bring you in and stay as long as you want and help you kick that vice and be a better positive person and kick that vice and teach you all these things about life without using that vice is great. So yes, the government has a fault there because like I said, I know plenty of people, or I've talked to plenty of people and met plenty of people, I should say, that they're addicted to vices. They've been to rehab. Rehab kicks them out on the street. They're back homeless again. Guess what? They're sticking a needle in their arm again, and they're smoking that pipe again. Their drug of choice, or whatever the case may be. Right? Sad, but true. But on the other hand, I also met people that became homeless that had a job, had an apartment, but they became homeless because they spent their money on stupid stuff. They'd rather have nice things in their house except for paying the rent. So, to me, now that type of person, right, that's their own self-doing, their own choices, right, that made them become homeless. But in the end, that's where these faith-based ministries come in and teach you how, like I said, how to budget your money, how to do this, maybe teach you a little bit about business, maybe teach you about how having separate bank accounts, teach you how to when you get a job, this is where this money goes, this is where that money goes, this is where this money goes from, your paycheck. And you keep on doing that. And you keep on doing that. And eventually it becomes a habit. So you train your mind, right? Which I keep on saying, your mindset. You train your mind saying, okay, listen, I got a job. This is where I put this part of that check. This is where I put this part of that check. So now you train your mind to do all these things. So when you eventually get that own place, when you get your own place, right? Your mindset is there. So you're out from the shelter, you have your own place, you get that check, you're like you're automatically, okay, this is where this money goes, this is where that money goes, because your mind automatically knows because you've been doing it for so long in that shelter, right? And that same thing with the vices, right? You get taught, to change your mindset of kicking those vices. Listen, AA is good, NA is good, but just to teach somebody about changing their mindset. And this is what I talked about a long time ago, and I haven't really brought it up. But the step 2 of the program that I invented was changing your mindset, wasn't it? What was changing your mindset? Telling yourself until you believe in your heart that you kick that vice. So that means every day, 60 times a day, 150 times a day, 1,000 times a day, you tell yourself over and over and over again, you don't need that vice. You don't need that vice. You don't need that vice. Well, guess what? One day you're going to wake up, and guess what? You're not even going to crave that vice because you told yourself that you don't need that vice no more. You know what I'm saying? That you don't, and let's just say you do relapse, right? You relapse. Then you also get taught that relapse is not a thing to go and go and do your drugs again. A relapse is, okay, I relapsed. Okay, I messed up. Or I blanked up. See, I didn't cuss there. And whatever you want to tell yourself, and say, I messed up, I bleeped up, but tomorrow is another day. Brush that off and pick yourself back up and do it again. Because you shouldn't be counting the days, the months, this, that, and the other thing. You just say, oh, yeah, if I mess up, okay, well, shit. Oh, sorry. Shoot. That goes back, I got a setback. I went out and got high. I went out and got drunk. But guess what? Now, tomorrow is a new day. Right? So, this is why we need faith-based ministries like Just for Jesus. I mean, this is the way it is supposed to be, but nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to listen. And I even, it's crazy. I've talked to people in shelters that run shelters, and some of them agree with me. Some of them agree with me that yes, 30 days is not, you can't do nothing in 30 days. But on the other hand, if you believe that, they should go and talk about it. They should spread their message. They should go to their representatives and say that. But they don't want to. They're just plain laziness and don't want to. So it is what it is. It comes down to we need faith-based ministries like Just for Jesus that's located in Pennsylvania that takes people in. It's a nonprofit organization, takes people in, and they can stay for the long haul, right? Instead of these Band-Aid stations. Well, until then, live your life, make your mark, dream and dream big, and I'll see you on the flip side.